not be, it's very strong and recorded, but we have lost nothing, but we'll continue. So what you're saying is that it moves from a negative sense in the Hegelian idea of alienation to a positive flow, kind of flowing.
Yes. Yes, the idea is that while in the Hegelian framework, the relation between workers and the factory and the capitalist world is only a relation of conflict, of suffering and refusal. If you change the perception to your condition, if you understand that a solidarity is possible, you start let's say coming out from the only antagonist stance, and you start creating a world which is an autonomous world. Obviously, this is not cancelling the reality of exploitation and the reality of struggle, but the struggle is based on the creation of something new, of something autonomous, of something which is extraneous, outside from the space of capitalist alienation.
So is this outside that you're referring to in relationship to an autonomous outlook? How does this relate then to a unification or a commons in a Hart and Negri sense? Or does it not relate in this way? Or let's say in a communist sense of formulating a party. How does this autonomous overcoming of alienation in a positive sense relate, therefore, to a collectivity formation?
Well, I think that we are talking of old things. I mean, all this is the conceptual frame of the discussion of Italian operaismo 50 years ago. You refer to Toni Negri, and I think that Toni Negri has represented the effort to create a strong frame for autonomous organization. I disagreed from the Leninist emphasis that Negri was putting on this idea of organization. My persuasion was that autonomy come first. Organization is a possibility among many.
But is this a notion of autonomy not a certain kind of Enlightenment individualism? Or how does this notion of autonomy not fold back into a kind of the modernist structure?
Well, you can have individual autonomy or collective autonomy. What is crucial in the context is that a new story can be found, a new possibility, a new started outside from which is the dominant space of capitalist.
I see. So I cannot help but.
Yeah, please.
Okay, that makes sense. I cannot help but to notice that in the behind you, as an in a weird way, there is a computer, an Apple computer, like as if the Apple computer is the analyst, and you are the anasand. Where did you get this? Is this an old Apple computer that you have behind you?
But you're talking of that?
Yes,
my
yes,
classic?
yes.
Well, this is my first computer. It dates 1988, I guess. It's a classic. Well,
Yes.
I bought it in in Bologna. Not, it's my, well, I started using an Apple computer before, maybe in 85, 86.
Very early then, very early.
Yeah, the first generation of classic. And this is my own.
That's brilliant. It's almost like a piece of art in a way, but
yeah,
also
it is. And you see that upside the computer, there is Mao Zedong.
I know. I was going to draw attention to this. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so basically, then what you're saying is that notions of individualism and alienation, even notion of capitalism, is itself we're still stuck in these old categories, and what is necessary is to create new positive flows of desire, flows of organization, flows of creation.
Yeah, and at the same time, in that book, you mentioned the Soul at Work. In that book, I try to compare the idea of desire, that what has been proposed by Deleuze-Guattari and also by the Italian autonomia, with the different position of Jean Baudrillard. We are talking of something of a conceptual problematic that is, in a sense, very much dated in that period. And The Soul at Work is a book in which I try to revisit the conceptual landscape of the 60s and of the 70s. Nowadays, I think that the opposition between Deleuze-Guattari on one side and Baudrillard on the other side, that kind of opposition should be rethought. Because the methodology of the rhizomatic thought still is a starting point for understanding the present reality. But the philosophical style, I would say the philosophical sentiment of the anti-Oedipe is out of sight, in a sense. Yes. Because what we have been witnessing in the last 3 decades, in the age of neoliberalism, in the age of the internet, is, if I may say, is the implementation of the rhizomatic project of Deleuze-Guattari. This is the new reality. We live inside the rhizome. We live inside the perverse realization of the project of Deleuze-Guattari. So I think we need the new conceptual tools for present fight.
You mentioned inside and of this reality of the Deleuze-Guattarian structure, but you're also mentioning a kind of circumvention of capitalism. So what you're saying is that the structure that Deleuze and Guattari have organized is already a certain kind of organization that circumvents capitalism? How do you get outside? Is there a way of transgressing capitalism within the age of the cognitarian, to coin a word, or to use a word that you coined, the cognitarian, the one who is organized by computer work? Is there a way? How do we escape this? Is that the wrong question?
No, it's not the wrong question. I mean, in the age of the factory, in the old industrial age, the process of antagonism, of liberation, of creation of autonomy was essentially aimed to come out from the space of production, come out from the factory, and create a community of refusal of work, refusal of that kind of subjugation and so on. In the age that we are living now, how can I say, the topography of social composition has changed in a sense that probably means that the cognitive workers do not need and also cannot come out from the space of the social factory. This stream, this collective relation is the space of cognitive work. We cannot go out from it. We have to change the net, being inside the net.
Yes.
This is also the difficulty of the present condition. For the industrial worker, refusal was easy, in a sense.
Yes. A strike, something like this, strike, or walking out, or taking over. Yes. But now we cannot strike against the internet. There's no strike.
It should mean nothing. Going out from the internet only means to make a personal choice that has no social effects.
Yes.
Producing social effects in our age implies the ability to rewrite the algorithm, in a sense.
From within the allegory itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that makes good sense. That's very helpful. Okay, let us move then on to more specific questions with respect to the European Union.
Yeah, let's do it, because I was prepared to talk.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I needed to work through those philosophical.
Yeah, no problem.
But okay, so for you, Professor, do you believe how do you understand from a philosophical point of view the European Union as a political economic structure?
Well, I think that your question is important, because generally we forget that the European Union is, first of all, is a philosophical project, if I may say. It's the project of overcoming the opposition of the French enlightened political conceptualization and the German romantic political conceptualization. Right law against folk, against belonging. After the Second World War, this opposition needed to be rethought and overcome. This is the first part of the philosophical project of the European Union, and from this point of view, we can say that the European Union has been a successful experiment. But there is a second axis of opposition in the European history, which has been totally hidden or forgotten or removed, denied, and it is the axis that opposes the Baroque counter-reformation of the southern Mediterranean cultures and the Protestant Calvinist vision of history. this kind of opposition is probably more deep and more culturally important in the history of modern Europe. We tend to identify modernity with the Protestant ideology and culture. Everybody knows that the Weberian identification of industrial capitalism with Protestantism is the basis of modernity. But nowadays, in the postmodern age of semio-capitalism, the Baroque reality comes to the fore and becomes more and more important. What is Baroque? Baroque is the proliferation of the viewpoints. It's the proliferation of points of enunciation. We live in a Baroque age.
Absolutely.
For the good and for the bad.
Yes.
So, this problematization, the solution of this opposition has been totally avoided, forgotten. And Germans against Greeks. You can say that Greeks are not Catholic, are not Baroque, are not Count. Well, they make part of the Mediterranean culture, which is, if I can say, the lazy culture, the culture of people who do not identify with the Protestant sense of guilt. Do we want to accept cultural reality? If we want to create Europe, we have to resolve this opposition.
Absolutely. So it's like the Greeks aren't Lutheran, they're not Calvinists, the Italians aren't even Catholic anymore. And so you're saying the Baroquean emergence of various voices all working together must be taken into account, of which the second axis of the European organization does not account for.
Yeah, let's say it's not a religious problem, of course. I don't care about Orthodox and Protestant. What is important for me is the cultural relation with time, the cultural relation with activity and work. The Northern European capitalist, industrial capitalist identification of Europe has identified the cultural development with the development of the bourgeois idea of productivity. Yeah. There is another possibility in the history of Europe, which is a post-bourgeois identification. I mean, you know, a large part of the history of the past century is the history of the slow, dramatic, dangerous re-emergence, resurfacing of the Baroque spirit. Fascism has been essentially the coming back of the Baroque sense of the spectacle, of the aggressiveness, of the irrationality, if you want. We have to deal with it. If we don't deal with that kind of crazy spirit of Baroque, of hyper-reach, Baroque is a contradictory cultural reality, is the ability to feel the warmth of the community, and also is the perception of absurd, of irrational roots of the community. If we don't deal with the Baroque culture of Europe, the next step in the history of Europe will be fascism. Will be
absolutely,
a form
absolutely,
aggressive.
Absolutely. And would you agree that neoliberalism, as an economic, surpassing the political as a political project, is in fact a regime installed in order to crush the Baroque voice, to conform to this industrial relation of work and time.
Yeah, this is paradoxical, because on one side, you are right, the neoliberal emphasis on productivity is essentially a legacy of the old bourgeois idea of working more. But the reality of our time, the reality of the networked economy, of the digital economy, the reality of the reduction of necessary time of work produced by technology, this reality has made that obsession obsolete.
Yes.
We do not need to work more. This is what the Germans cannot understand. I mean, yes. I read an interview with Larry Page in Computer World some months ago, and Larry Page says Google is massively investing in robotics, in artificial intelligence, and so on. And he adds, I don't think that people can work 40 hours per week because we don't need so much work. That is the point, that the European obsession with work and austerity and sacrifice is totally obsolete. We don't need that obsession. We need a redistribution of work time in Europe. We need a redistribution of wealth in Europe. The German obsession, the Protestant obsession is old, is old-fashioned, is out of the present frame of our possibility, and is destroying the philosophical project and political project of the European Union.
And how would then, and this will be our kind of a final question for you, how then do you understand like the rise of Podemos in Spain and Syriza in Greece and other organizations similar to them in Italy and in Ireland and Portugal? Do you understand this as a fight for the Baroque voice, or do you understand this as a weird way in which these places are trying to establish their own autonomy or their own sovereignty? How do you understand the rise of Podemos and Syriza in relationship to your understanding of the European Union?
Well, first of all, Syriza and Podemos are not so easily transferable in the Italian situation. I don't expect the surfacing of something like Syriza in Italy. Unfortunately, maybe, but it's the reality. Secondly, I strongly hope that Syriza succeeds in the attempt to change the political reality of Europe. Third, I don't think that Syriza and Podemos are the future. I don't think that they are the new form. I think that Syriza and Podemos are very important and very positive because they are a break in the history of the European suicide, of the austeritarian suicide of Europe. They are trying to break the wall of the German obsession, of the Protestant obsession. But beyond that wall, if they succeed, and I strongly hope they succeed, if they succeed, if Syriza and Podemos succeed in breaking the wall of austritarianism, we have to invent new forms of self-organization that cannot be only the expression of a sort of separation, north, south. We have, the real problem now is not so much Italian or Southern, is to create a new political culture in Germany. How happens that in Germany the movement is unable to say, stop this obsession? How happens that the German movement is unable to say that misery and exploitation and precarity in Germany more than elsewhere? And that is the problem. So, answering your question, I wish all the good for Syriza, but I know that Syriza is only, it's important, but
Yes.
and the opening of a new process.
So, in short, it's a break. It's the first step of a break, but then a new set of conditions needs to be organized around in the wake of that break.
Absolutely, Europe has to be rethought from scratch.
Yes.
Because what has happened in the last 5 years and is still happening, I mean, the opposition of Germans and Greeks, just to be simple, this opposition has created a very dangerous sentiment in many parts of Europe, which is a sentiment of anti-German hatred. Anti-German hatred is a poison for the European future.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have to start from a new point. We have to rethink I mean, we have to cancel Maastricht. That is the point. We have to cancel the neoliberal imprinting in the history of Europe. If we want that the European Union exists, if we want to insist in the neoliberal way, okay, let's say Europe is dead.
Exactly. And with that, Professor, I would like to thank you for your time. It's been fabulous, really amazing, inspiring. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. And
I'll follow up with you. I'll follow up.